Wade slid the proposal across the conference table like he was dealing cards. 52 pages, 3 weeks of work. My team's best effort on the Pritchard account, and he wanted it redone by Monday morning. That was the moment I knew it was over. My name is Cole Decker. I'm 49 years old, and that Friday evening in November was the last time I ever set foot in Hallmark Capital Group as an employee. By 9:03 the next morning, 12 of their clients had already signed with me. Let me back up. I joined Hallmark 9 years ago after a decade at a regional Big Four firm where I learned one thing above everything else. The numbers tell you what happened, but the people tell you why. I walked into Hallmark's Dallas office at 40 years old with a notebook, a decent reputation, and the kind of work ethic that doesn't show up on a resume. 6:30 every morning, coffee in hand. Ready. Back then, Hallmark was solid but unremarkable. Good firm, good people, client list that hadn't changed much in years. The managing partner, Spencer Owens, was old school in the best sense of the word, believed in FaceTime with clients, handshake deals, calling people back within the hour. He gave me room to work, so I worked. My first year, instead of sending standard quarterly reports, I started calling clients personally. Not to pitch anything, just to ask what's actually going on, what keeps you up at night, what does the next 3 years look like from where you're sitting. Lance Pritchard was my first real test. CEO of an industrial manufacturing company out of Fort Worth, 60 employees, family owned for 3 generations. He'd been with Hallmark for years, but treated us like a vendor, not a partner. First time I called just to talk, he was quiet for a second, then said, "What are you selling?" "Nothing," I said, "just trying to understand your business." He was quiet again, then, "All right, you got 20 minutes. That was 9 years ago. Last year, his company crossed 200 million in revenue. He called me before he called his own CFO. Renee Stapleton was different. Coup at a regional manufacturing firm, sharp as anyone I'd ever worked with, but stuck under a board that didn't listen to her. She'd been burned by consultants before, guys who came in, generated a thick report, collected the fee, and disappeared. She didn't trust me for the first 6 months. That was fine. I just kept showing up, kept following through on every small thing I said I'd do. One afternoon, she called me frustrated about a sustainable sourcing initiative her board had shut down for the 3rd time. I spent 2 hours on the phone with her, not billing it, just listening and thinking out loud. 2 weeks later, I sent her a restructured version of the proposal with financial projections her board couldn't ignore. She got it approved. She never forgot that. Miles Donovan ran a logistics company out of Houston. Retired military background, direct, no patience for people who wasted his time. We became close the way men in this business sometimes do, slowly, through shared problems and early morning phone calls, and the occasional bourbon after a deal closed. When his father passed, I drove 2 hours to sit in the back row of the funeral, didn't tell him I was coming. He spotted me afterward and just nodded. That was enough. These weren't sales tactics. I wasn't running a play. This was just how I thought you were supposed to do the job. By year 5 at Hallmark, my division managed $380 million in annual contracts. Spencer used to introduce me at company meetings as the guy our clients call before they call their own lawyers. It was a joke, but it wasn't entirely wrong. Then, Vantage Equity Partners acquired Hallmark in March. Spencer retired 2 weeks after the deal closed, stopped by my office on his last day, shook my hand, said, "I tried to hold it off as long as I could. You built something real here, Cole. Don't let them take that from you." I told him I wouldn't. I was wrong about how hard they'd try. Wade Ellison arrived in April, 34 years old. Stanford MBA. The kind of guy who put the word velocity in every 3rd sentence and had never, as far as I could tell, sat across from a client and just listened. His first all-hands meeting, he stood at the front of the room and told us the age of relationship management was over. We were entering the age of aggressive growth. I looked around at my team. These were people who'd spent years learning that the whole secret to what we did was slowing down, not speeding up. Reading the room. Earning trust, one kept promise at a time. I smiled and nodded, figured I'd give it time. Figured I could be a bridge between what Wade wanted and what our clients actually needed. I was wrong. You can't bridge a gap when one side is actively trying to demolish what's underneath you. The erosion started quietly, the way these things always do. New reporting systems appeared first. Contact frequency trackers that logged how many times per week you touched each account. Quality of conversation didn't matter. Depth didn't matter. Just the number. Wade's dashboard needed green lights, and green lights meant volume. My weekly team meetings where we actually talked about the people behind the accounts, what was going on in their businesses, what they were worried about, got replaced with velocity scrums. 15 minutes, standing up, rattling off numbers. I sat through the first 3 without saying much. By the 4th, I stopped attending and sent a summary instead. Nobody noticed for 2 weeks. Then I got an email from Wade flagging my participation deficit. The mandatory Saturday session started in June, framed as strategy workshops. Really just pressure sessions to push clients harder, close faster, upsell more aggressively. I sent my team once and watched them come back deflated. I stopped sending them after that. Wade noted it in my performance log, a document I didn't know existed until HR mentioned it in passing. Then came Trey Callahan. Trey had joined my team 2 years earlier, fresh out of Wharton, smart kid, fast talker, the kind of energy that fills a room before he said anything useful. I spent a year trying to slow him down, teach him that listening was the job, that a client who trusts you is worth 10 clients you've pressured into a contract. He nodded in all the right places. The second Wade showed up, Trey became someone I didn't recognize. It happened gradually. Trey started staying late after the velocity scrums, talking to Wade one-on-one. His name started appearing on internal memos about accounts I managed. Then he was listed as co-lead on the Stapleton account without anyone telling me. I found out when Renee called confused about a meeting she'd received an invite to from Trey about an initiative I'd never approved. "Who is this guy?" she asked. "Someone I'm handling," I said, but I wasn't handling it. Wade was engineering it, and I was watching it happen in slow motion. The worst was Lance Pritchard. Trey called Lance on a Thursday afternoon, didn't tell me, didn't run it by anyone, and spent 40 minutes pitching an accelerated expansion timeline. First, mover advantages, market windows, the whole MBA script. Lance sat through it politely, hung up, and called me that evening. "Cole, I just got off the phone with someone named Trey." "I know, I'm sorry that wasn't our recommendation." "I know it wasn't," Lance said. "That's why I'm calling you. What's going on over there?" What could I tell him? That the firm he'd trusted for 9 years was being gutted floor by floor? That the guy now sitting 2 doors down from me saw his company as a conversion target, not a relationship? "We're going through some transitions," I said, "but nothing about my commitment to you has changed." "I'm not worried about your commitment, Cole," he said. "I'm worried about hallmarks." So was I? The exclusions turned systematic after that. I showed up to a Monday leadership meeting to find it had been moved to 7 a.m., conflicting with my standing 6:30 client call with 2 accounts on the West Coast. Nobody had told me about the change. My executive dashboard access was revoked for system migration that was still ongoing 6 weeks later. Reports I submitted came back with vague notes. Tone misalignment, needs recalibration, not aligned with current strategic vision. My parking spot moved from the 31st floor garage to the basement level. Facilities issue, they said. Then Wade reassigned Lori Vance. Lori had been my executive assistant for 6 years. She knew every client by name, knew which ones needed a call before a meeting and which ones preferred email, knew that Lance Pritchard's assistant always needed 48 hours notice and that Miles Donovan would pick up on the first ring no matter what time you called. She was, in practical terms, the operational memory of everything I'd built. Wade called it resource optimization. Lori was being reassigned to support Trey's expanding portfolio. She came to my office that afternoon and closed the door behind her. "I can't work for him," she said. "He doesn't see people. He sees accounts." I understood. I also knew I couldn't ask her to stay and absorb what was coming. "Do what you need to do right now," I told her. "But understand, this situation has an expiration date." She looked at me for a long moment. "You already know how this ends, don't you?" "I know how it ends for me," I said. "I'm working on the part that comes after." What I didn't tell her was that I'd been working on that part for 6 months already. The LLC had been filed on a Tuesday night in May. Cornerstone Advisory. I registered it myself from my home laptop using my personal credit card. Had my cousin in Austin, business attorney, zero connections to Dallas's financial world, draft the operating agreement. Opened a business bank account with savings I'd been setting aside since January, when I first understood what Vantage's acquisition actually meant for people like me. The website was live but said nothing except, "Coming soon." Where your word still means something. I never touched a Hallmark resource. Not one email, not 1 minute of company time. Every piece of preparation happened at my kitchen table after 10 p.m., With a notebook and whatever was left of a glass of bourbon, I mapped out the client framework, drafted the service model, wrote out by hand every conversation I'd had with every major client in the last 2 years, the real ones, the ones that happened over dinner or on the phone at 7 a.m., not the ones logged in the CRM. Over 3 weeks, I cleared my desk one small item at a time. The framed photo from when we closed the Pritchard account at $50, the handwritten thank you note from miles after we navigated his company through a rough acquisition, the small plaque from Hallmark's internal recognition program, Client Relations Excellence, 4 consecutive years. By the time Wade set his trap, my office was already just a room. That Friday in November, Wade called me into the executive conference room at 7:15 p.m. Most of the floor was empty, a few lights still on near the back, the kind of quiet that only happens in an office building after hours, when the hum of the day finally stops and you can hear the ventilation system doing its job. Wade was already seated at the head of the table, tablet in front of him, the 52-page Pritchard proposal printed and stacked to his right. He didn't offer a handshake, didn't look up immediately, just let me stand there for a few seconds longer than necessary, that little power move I'd seen him run a dozen times in meetings. Then he slid the proposal across the table toward me. "I need this redone by Monday morning," he said. "The entire tone is wrong, too conservative. We need to show Lance Pritchard we're hungry." I looked at the proposal, 3 weeks of work. My team had put in over 180 hours on this account. Every page reflected something real, conversations with Lance over the past 2 years, his CFO's concerns about over-leveraging, the specific growth trajectory that matched how his family had always run the business. It wasn't conservative, it was precise. "This is the 3rd weekend in a row," I said. "My team has already logged 180 hours on this project. And the proposal reflects exactly what Pritchard needs. I've worked with Lance for 9 years. Stability with controlled growth is what he expects from us, and it's what's right for his company." Wade leaned back in his chair, that practiced gesture, hands folded, slight tilt of the head. That's old Hallmark thinking. "Cole, we're building something bigger now, more aggressive. You need to decide if you're flexible enough to be part of it." Flexible. I'd been hearing that word for 18 months. It meant working Sundays. It meant watching Trey Callahan run plays on accounts I'd spent a decade building. It meant telling clients what sounded good instead of what was true. "I won't ask my team to redo work that doesn't need redoing," I said. I kept my voice level. "And I won't tell Lance Pritchard what you want him to hear instead of what he actually needs to know. That's not consulting. That's just noise." The room went quiet. Wade looked at me for a long moment then. "Perhaps Hallmark isn't the right fit for you anymore, Cole." I'd been expecting those words for months. Had run this conversation in my head so many times that hearing it out loud almost felt like a formality. "Perhaps it isn't," I said. I set my company iPad flat on the table, picked up my personal phone, my leather notebook, 9 years of handwritten client notes, and the coffee mug my team had given me years ago. World's most stubborn closer. I'd earned that one. "We'll call this termination for insubordination," Wade said. His voice had that tight quality people get when they think they've won something. "Security will escort you out." Security never came. Brady at the front desk just gave me a slow nod when I handed over my key card. He'd been at that desk for years, knew everyone, saw everything. "Going to miss you, Mr. Decker. You'll see me around, Brady," I said. I walked out into the November night. Cold, clear, the kind of Dallas evening where the air actually has some bite to it. I didn't look back at the building. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. I sat in the parking garage on the 31st floor level and read the messages coming in. I'd updated my LinkedIn status exactly 3 minutes after leaving the building. Nothing dramatic, just exploring new opportunities. That was all it took. 8:09 p.m. "Lance Pritchard, is it true you're out? Whatever you're building next, I'm in." 8:17 p.m. Renee Stapleton. "Cole, please tell me you have a plan. We need to talk." 8:23 p.m. Miles Donovan, "Just saw your update. You call me first. Whatever comes next, we're with you." 8:35 p.m. Brooke Harlan, managing director at a Dallas real estate development firm I'd worked with for 4 years. "I need to know if we can work together again. No intermediaries, just us." I sat there in the garage for a few minutes, engine running, heat kicking in. Read each message twice. These weren't condolences. These weren't people feeling sorry for me. These were people who'd been watching what was happening at Hallmark for months and had been waiting to see what I'd do about it. I drove home, poured a glass of bourbon, and opened my laptop. By 10 p.m., Cornerstone Advisory was fully operational. The dormant website went live with one updated line: authentic relationships, sustainable growth.
Now open.
Then I opened a document I'd been refining for the past month. 6 pages, no jargon, no velocity metrics, no scalability frameworks. Just a clean, honest outline of how I approached client consulting, how I'd actually work with someone, what I'd need to understand first, what I'd never promised just to close a deal. I called it a discovery framework. Took me 4 drafts to get it down to something I'd be willing to put my name on. I sent it to Lance first. Short note with it: if you're serious about exploring alternatives, this is how I work. No pitch, no pressure, just a conversation. His reply came back in 43 seconds. This is exactly what we've been missing. Can we talk tomorrow morning? I sent the same document to 11 more clients before midnight. Not a mass email. Each message was individual, a line or two referencing something specific to our history. Renee got a note about the sustainable sourcing project she'd fought for 3 times. Miles received a thought on the succession planning conversation we'd started in September and never finished. Brooke saw a preliminary outline for the discrete acquisition support she'd mentioned, needing but hadn't been able to trust anyone with. I wasn't selling. I was picking up conversations that Hallmark had abandoned. The responses came back one after another, steady and quiet, like dominoes falling in slow motion. Finally, someone who treats us like we matter. Renee. Set up time Monday. Our board needs to hear this approach. Miles, can you be in Houston by Wednesday? Brooke, by midnight I had 14 calls on the calendar. I closed the laptop, finished the bourbon, went to bed. Monday morning at Hallmark Capital Group started like any other day, until 8:47 a.m. I wasn't there to see it. I was at my kitchen table, second cup of coffee, watching my phone light up with contract confirmations. But Lori, who had submitted her resignation at exactly 7 a.m., that morning and driven straight to the coffee shop where we'd agreed to meet, gave me the full account later that week. Trey Callahan had come in early. Dressed sharp, new energy. Wade had apparently told him over the weekend that several of my former accounts were now officially under his leadership. This was his Monday. At 8:47, the main line forwarded a call to his desk. Lance Pritchard, asking to speak with his account manager. Trey took it at his desk. Speakerphone on, because of course it was. Mr. Pritchard, great to hear from you. I'm excited to walk you through our new growth strategy I'm calling to inform you that Pritchard Industries is terminating its consulting relationship with Hallmark Capital Group, effective immediately. Please have your legal department contact ours regarding contract dissolution. The floor went quiet. There must be some misunderstanding. Cole's no longer with the firm, but I want to assure you that our team is this has nothing to do with personnel changes, Lance said. We found a partner better aligned with our values. Good day. Click. Trey sat there holding the phone. By 9:03 a.m., the CRM system was running red. Alerts cascading down the dashboard like a scoreboard nobody wanted to watch. Renee Stapleton, Miles Donovan, Brooke Harlan. One after another, formal termination notices hitting the system. Accounts I'd managed for the better part of a decade, gone in the time it takes to send an email. Wade came out of his office at 9:15, tablet in hand. Face tight. System issue, he said to the floor. Run diagnostics. Nobody moved to run diagnostics because everyone already knew it wasn't a system issue. The all-hands was called for 9:30. Conference room A, glass walls. Everyone could see in. Wade stood at the head of the table with that composure he always carried, the Stanford MBA version of calm, but Lori said it was cracking at the edges in a way she'd never seen before. Someone explained to me how we lost 12 major accounts in 18 minutes. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then someone from accounting said what everyone already knew. Sir, these were all Cole Decker's accounts. He had deep relationships with those clients. Long-term personal relationships. He's been gone for 60 hours, Wade said. How does someone who's been gone for 60 hours? He stopped. Something shifted in his expression. Pull up his LinkedIn right now. Someone pulled it up on the conference room screen. Clean profile. Professional photo. No mention of Hallmark, no farewell post, no public grievance. Just a single update, posted Friday evening, founder and principal consultant, Cornerstone Advisory. Where your words still mean something, get legal on the phone, Wade said. His voice had dropped to something quieter and harder, non-compete violation. tortious interference. He can't just walk out and take our clients. HR spoke up from the far end of the table, quietly. He doesn't have a non-compete. Senior management contracts, you removed those clauses last year. Said they were barriers to agility. Lori told me later the silence that followed lasted almost 10 full seconds. I was pouring my third coffee when she walked through the door of the shop, box of desk items under one arm. We sat across from each other for a minute without saying much. She'd worked alongside me for 6 years. We didn't need a lot of words. He actually used the word agility, I said, in the same sentence where he found out it cost him 35% of their revenue. She wrapped both hands around her cup. You know what's funny? He's probably still up there right now, running some kind of analysis, trying to find the data point that explains what went wrong. She was right. And he'd never find it because the thing that walked out of Hallmark on Friday night wasn't in any system he had access to. It wasn't in the CRM. It wasn't in a contact log or a dashboard or a velocity report. It was in 9 years of showing up, returning calls, remembering what mattered to people, sitting in the back row of a funeral because someone mentioned it once and I figured it was the right thing to do. That's not a strategy. It's just how you're supposed to treat people. By noon, Hallmark stock had dropped 9%. Vantage Equity Partners issued a statement about reviewing strategic leadership decisions. One market analyst put it plainly: losing 35% of revenue before lunch isn't a client rotation. It's a vote of no confidence. An email came in at 2:14 p.m. from Spencer Owens. Cole, I heard. You built it the right way, and now you're taking it somewhere better. Go show them how it's done. Spencer, I read it twice. Saved it. By Tuesday morning, Cornerstone had a team of 4, Lori, 2 of my former senior analysts who'd resigned the same day I had. Turned out they'd both been quietly looking for the exit since October. And Paige Colburn, a CFO I'd collaborated with years back who now ran her own sustainability consultancy, reached out asking if I needed a strategic partner on the operations side. We signed a lease on 3 rooms in a building full of people building things from scratch. The landlord had seen my name in a brief market note. Anyone who can make an exit like that, he said, is someone I want in this building. We shook hands on the rent. That afternoon, I got a message from an address I didn't recognize. Nadia Forsyth, Trey Callahan's mother. She wrote that she'd heard about me from her son for 2 years, first with respect, then with resentment as Wade's influence took hold. She wanted to apologize for what he'd become under that environment. Said watching what I'd done, choosing integrity over security, had given him something to think about. I read it a couple of times. Didn't know what to do with it? Exactly. Just closed the laptop and let it sit. The last message of the week came from Lance Pritchard. Tuesday evening, after his board had formally approved the expanded engagement with Cornerstone, Wade called me personally, offered a 40% discount to come back. I told him Cornerstone could charge me double and it'd still be worth it. He hung up on me. I picked up my coffee still warm. Some things you can't put in a spreadsheet. 9 years of kept promises is one of them. Turns out it's also the one thing in this business that nobody can take from you when you walk out the door. They got the office, they got the parking spot, they got the building on the 31st floor. I got everything that actually mattered. In this business, the only asset that survives a termination letter is the trust you built before anyone was paying attention. Wade got the firm. The clients chose the man who remembered their father's funeral.